Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm continuing my read through and review of the books of Charles Fort. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and ways to listen to the show, along with links to ways to support the show at the website, which is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. Please check out all the links in the episode description, both for Jen, the Arcane Observer, and her channel, and Michael Strange and Trouble Minds Radio, both the show and the radio network, KUAP, Digital Broadcasting. And you can hear my shows along with many other great shows 24/7 on that network. So, and support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. So we started in the previous episode here in this series, the first of the four books we'll be reading from Charles Fort, the Book of the Damned. And we are still in chapter 1. So let's get back to that and get that going again once I find my spot again. Because I did not... I had it and I lost it. Let's see. Okay. Thank you all for being here, and I will stop in between sections and just explain as well as I can what I think the book is talking about here. So we're just going to... Oh, I found it. Never mind. I think. All right. So we're going to start here. It says, our expression is that our whole existence is animation of the local by an ideal that is realizable only to the universal, or only in the universal. There we go. That if all exclusions are false, because always are included and excluded continuous, that if all seeming of existence perceptible to us is the product of exclusion, there is nothing that is perceptible to us that reality, or that really is, that only the universal can really be. Our especial interest is in modern science as a manifestation of this one ideal or purpose or process that it has falsely excluded because there are no positive standards to judge by, that it has excluded things that by its own pseudo standards have as much right to come in as have the chosen. And that's where that section ends. Again, just going over the way that people will accept some things and the other things when it comes to reports of things that happened. So, and in this book, Fort does talk sort of in a third, or not third, talking in he uses our or us when he's referring to himself. So that's just his style that he writes in. Anyway, moving on to the next section here. It says, our general expression that the state that is commonly and absurdly called existence is a flow or a current or an attempt from negativeness to positiveness and is intermediate in both, or to both. By positiveness, we mean harmony, equilibrium, order, regularity, stability, consistency, unity, realness, system, government, organization, liberty, independence, soul, self, personality, entity, individuality, truth, beauty, justice, perfection, definiteness. That all that is called development, progress, or evolution is movement toward or attempt toward this state for which, or for aspects of which, there are so many names, all of which are summed up in the one word positiveness. At first, this summing up may not be very readily acceptable. At first, it may seem that all these words are not synonyms, that harmony may mean order, but that by independence, for instance, we do not mean truth, or that by stability, we do not mean beauty, or system, or justice. I conceive, oh, there we go, he does say it, in that one case anyway. I conceive of one intercontinuous nexus, which expresses itself in astronomic phenomena, and chemic, biologic, psychic, sociologic, that it is everywhere, striving to localize positiveness. That to this attempt in various fields of phenomena, which are only quasi-different, we give different names. We speak of the system of the planets, and not of their government. But in considering a store, for instance, and its management, we see that the words are interchangeable. It used to be customary to speak of chemic equilibrium, but not of social equilibrium. That false demarcation has been broken down. We shall see that by all these words, we mean the same state. As everyday conveniences, or its terms of common illusions, of course, they are not synonyms. To a child, an earthworm is not an animal. It is to the biologist. By beauty, I mean that which seems complete. Obversely, that the incomplete or the mutilated is the ugly. Venus de Milo. To a child, she is ugly. When a mind adjusts to thinking of her as a completeness, even though by physiologic standards incomplete, she is beautiful. A hand thought of only as a hand may seem beautiful. Found on a battlefield, obviously a part, not beautiful. I lost my spot. Scroll in this thing is really good, but it's also sorry about that. Let's see. Okay. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. I scrolled to the next page when I did not mean to. Anyway, it says, but everything in our experience is only a part of something else, that in turn is only a part of still something else. Or that there is nothing beautiful in our experience, only appearances that are intermediate to beauty and ugliness. That only universality is complete. That only the complete is the beautiful. That every attempt to achieve beauty is an attempt to give to the local the attribute of the universal. By stability, we mean the immovable and the unaffected. But all seeming things are only reactions to something else. Stability, too, then, can be only the universal or that besides which there is nothing else. Though some things seem to have or have higher approximations to stability than have others, there are, in our experience, only various degrees of intermediateness to stability and instability. Every man, then, who works for stability under its various names of permanency, survival, duration, is striving to localize in something the state that is realizable only in the universal. By independence, entity, and individuality, I can mean only that besides which there is nothing else. If given only two things, they must be continuous and mutually effective. If everything is only a reaction to something else, and any two things would be destructive of each other, or each other's independence, entity, or individuality, all attempted organizations and systems and consistencies, some approximating far higher than others, but all only intermediate to order and disorder, fail eventually because of their relations with outside forces. All are attempted completenesses. If to all local phenomena there are always outside forces, these attempts, too, are realizable only in the state of completeness, or that to which there are no outside forces, or that all these words are synonyms, all meaning the state that we call the positive state, that our whole existence is a striving for the positive state. The amazing paradox of it all, that all things are trying to become the universal by excluding other things. That there is only this one process, and that it does animate all expressions in all fields of phenomena, of that which we think of as one intercontinuous nexus. The religious and their idea or ideal of the soul, they mean distinct, stable entity, or a state that is independent, and not a mere flux of vibrations or complex of reactions to environment, continuous with environment, merging away with an infinitude of other interdependent complexes. But the only thing that would not merge away into something else would be that besides which there is nothing else. That truth is only another name for the positive state. That the quest for truth is the attempt to achieve positiveness. Scientists who have thought that they were seeking truth, but who were trying to find out astronomic or chemic or biologic truths. But truth is that besides which there is nothing. Nothing to modify it, nothing to question it, nothing to form an exception. The all-inclusive, the complete. By truth, I mean the universal. So, chemists have sought the true, or the real, and have always failed in their endeavors because of the outside relations of chemical phenomena. Have failed in the sense that never has a chemical law, without exceptions, been discovered, because chemistry is continuous with astronomy, physics, biology. For instance, if the sun should greatly change its distance from this earth, and if human life could survive, the familiar chemic formulas would no longer work out. A new science of chemistry would have to be learned. Or that all attempts to find truth in the special are attempts to find the universal in the local. And artists and their striving for positiveness under the name of harmony. But their pigments that are oxidizing are responding to a damaging environment, or the strings of musical instruments that are differently and disturbingly adjusting to outside chemic and thermal and gravitational forces. Again and again, this oneness of all ideals, and that it is the attempt to be or to achieve locally that which is realizable only universally. In our experience, there is only intermediateness to harmony and discord. Harmony is that besides which there are no outside forces. And nations that have fought with only one motive, for individuality or entity or to be real. Final nations, not subordinate to or parts of other nations. And that nothing but intermediateness has ever been attained, and that history is record of failures of this one attempt, because there always have been outside forces or other nations contending for the same goal. As to physical things, chemic, mineralogic, that's a hard word to say, astronomic, it is not customary to say that they act to achieve truth or entity, but it is understood that all motions are toward equilibrium, that there is no motion except toward equilibrium, of course, always away from some other approximation to equilibrium. All biologic phenomena act to adjust. There are no biologic actions other than adjustments. Adjustment is another name for equilibrium. Equilibrium is the universal, or that which has nothing external to derange it. But that all that we call being is motion, and that all motion is the expression, not of equilibrium, but of equilibrating, or of equilibrium unattained. That life motions are expressions of equilibrium unattained. That all thought relates to the unattained. That to have what is called being in our quasi-state is not to be in the positive sense, or is to be intermediate to equilibrium and in equilibrium. So then, that all phenomena in our intermediate state or quasi-state represent this one attempt to organize, stabilize, harmonize, individualize, or to positivize, or to become real. That only to have seeming is to express failure, or intermediateness to final failure, and final success. That every attempt that is observable is defeated by continuity, or by outside forces, or by the excluded that are continuous with the included. That our whole existence is an attempt by the relative to be the absolute, or by the local to be the universal. In this book, my interest is in this attempt as manifested in modern science. That it has attempted to be real, true, final, complete, absolute. That if the seeming of being here in our quasi-state is the product of exclusion that is always false and arbitrary, if always are included and excluded continuous, the whole seeming system or entity of modern science is only quasi-system or quasi-entity, wrought by the same false and arbitrary process as that by which the still less positive system that preceded it, or the theological system, wrought the illusion of its being. In this book, I assemble some of the data that I think are of the falsely and arbitrarily excluded, the data of the damned. I have gone into the outer darkness of scientific and philosophical transactions and proceedings, ultra respectable, but covered with the dust of disregard. I have descended into journalism. I have come back with the quasi souls of lost data. They will march. And that's the end of that section. So here you see, I think, in my mind anyway, Fort trying to describe just everything. The state of the universe, the state of just what things are or aren't, just thoughts, and just seems like a whole view of what reality is. And but then in the end of that section there, he gets back to what he's going to be covering in this book. So I think we are almost to the accounts here of experiences and things. I'm just going to check here. The intro does go on for a little ways longer, but he's getting into other things, which should be good. So I think that's going to do it for that. Please let me know, everyone, what you think when you hear these shows, whenever they go out, because I'm curious about that, if you all enjoy these episodes. And yeah, so thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.